motors. Some things that might not actually be motors, but there were motors. Cities. These are mostly cities. I'm pretty sure. Okay, some of these are clearly not cities, but there were cities. Hey, I'm Aaron from GameEnthus.com, and this one is about a rolling right. I like rolling rights. I also like flipping rights. Quite a bit. So, Motor City Games, more specifically, Ben Pinchback, Matt Riddle, and Adam Hill, took a look around and thought, you know what? Flick the Dice game was crunchy. Most recently, Three Sisters was crunchy. And they thought, you know what? No. We haven't done enough. They need more crunch. And then not only do they need crunch, they need engine building on top of crunch. And that has come in the form of their latest game, Motor City. Motor City players are going to be rolling those dice and making some tough decisions upon what track they're going to embark on and what tracks they're going to have to just let go. I will do my best to explain it right now. So these are the components in Motor City. Keep in mind that this is a prototype and some of the art and maybe some iconography could be subject to change between this version and what becomes the final version. Over here we have a board that's going to be used for the planning phase. This is where the dice are going to be placed that players are going to be able to grab and use to take actions, get bonus actions, things like that. Now, in the latest version of the board, the auditor die that is placed typically at the bottom here, this is the actual upgraded version. I'm just hard-headed, and I like the red because it goes with the red auditor die. So either way, you'll probably learn to hate the auditor. We'll get to that in a moment. Over here, you have a first player marker. These red blocks are going to be used to block certain spots along the way. So you're probably looking at these sheets like, what is all this stuff? So let me just sort of break down how the iconography at the top of the board here corresponds to your actual player sheets. The speedometer icon corresponds directly with this speedometer here, where you're going to try to upgrade this to get higher numbers. It starts off with a square and then goes to 1, 2, 3, and then it maxes out at 11. When you're scoring for every round, your speedometer score is the only thing you're really scoring in between the 8 rounds. I should also mention that this game takes place over 8 rounds. The majority of the game scoring will be done at the end of the game for the various sections that I'll get into, but the speedometer is the one thing that you can write at the end of every round based on where you are or the highest point. This car icon here corresponds to this track, this testing track. At the beginning of the game, players are going to have to circle one of the 3 testing tracks. Little circle here, here, and here. And players are going to have to select one of the engineering tracks, which work vertically. Just color in one of these little meeples, and you would be embarking upon working your way up vertically. And you would move around that track, whichever one you pick. This one does not overlap. It actually, you would come in here. There's actually a wall right here, if you can see it. So you would kind of come in and then go back around like that. So it kind of, it's like an E and like a 3 sort of. It doesn't cross over and it doesn't loop. That's what I'm saying. This one you have to make a decision because you would come in here and you can either go around this way, or you could come here and then come around this way, but you cannot do both. The testing tracks, once you've done them, they're done, and you'd have to, if you want to do another testing track, you'd have to spend $8 to upgrade. Well, I'm sorry, $8 to unlock another testing track. This icon here are the sales.
What is the sales department? Anyone?
How about the sales department is the sales?
Yes, Daryl. The sales department makes sales. Good. Let me just explain. I see the sales department.
The sales area is right here. So if you look, the sales area has small little circles. If you look here, it says gained, circle, fill in to show that you've spent it. So every 5 spaces you would get, you would, like here, this light bulb symbol corresponds to the research area here, which means you would just fill in one of these squares or circles in the research track here. So this is another small area. The research track, every time you get to a circle in the research track, you can unlock one of these bonuses. This bonus here is 2 TPS reports.
Did you see the memo about this? Yeah.
This icon here lets you unlock another engineering track. This one will just let you get an immediate speedometer upgrade. And once you get them, you get them. You can't do it repeatedly. But the one thing you can do is you could take a free action for every circle you fill in on the research track. This icon here corresponds to production, which is this area right here. See, production here, production here. So that's production. And the production area allows you to make your way through and unlock some bonuses on these production hubs. These octagons are called production hubs, and they normally have some prerequisites. For example, this one here, if you look in the upper right corner, you see a speedometer upgrade, which corresponds here. So in order to get this, if you look in the upper right of any other production hubs, that's the bonus you get for attaining everything within the production hub. So you can make your way to it, but you would not get the bonus until you've met the requirements for that hub. So this hub happens to be 1 TPS report and a shipping container. Now this shipping container is unlockable only on this track. So if you're working your way up to this track, once you get here, you could circle it or cross it off or whatever to indicate that you attained it. So there's some interdependency between things in the production hub being scattered elsewhere. If you look here at this production hub, there is a B tire, which is only unlockable towards the very end, almost the end, the penultimate space on this track. Once you got to this space on this track, you would have this. It also means you'd work your way all the way up. Now, you can cross off spots in the production track to work your way up here. Does not mean you have to unlock everything on the way. You could. It'd be challenging to do so. And the engineering track, which is right here. Beginning of the game, where I said you would pick one test track and then pick color in one of the meeples here. And you would fill in one of the meeples here to indicate which engineering track you're going to embark on. So engineering tracks offer money, research, upgrades, which is kind of nice. This icon here means if you got up to here, you could upgrade testing, which means you would go from, you could move up. So if you start off at 1, hey, now I can move 2 spaces on the testing track. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Sometimes they offer speedometer bonuses. This lets you upgrade on the sales track. So anything with the arrow lets you upgrade how many you can move. If you just see the icon without the arrow, I believe that allows you to just take an action based on how many you can move. So if I got up to this testing track and I already upgraded it to 2, I could just move 2 spaces on testing track that I had open. Or if I have multiples open, I could pick one of them. You can't split. So if you have 2 or 3 that you can move, you can't split between testing tracks. You can't split between engineering tracks. You'd have to just use however you're able, how many spaces you're able to move on one testing track or engineering track. You can't divide it up. And then in the column for 6, that would enable you to take any of the 4 track actions as your blueprint action, obviously except the speedometer. Interesting thing about sales is every time you get $1 anywhere, meaning the bonus area is here, anywhere on the track, you would circle more spaces in your sales area. But if you also take the sales action, you're able to circle more dollars here. And dollars are important because dollars are going to enable you to upgrade how many spaces you're able to move on any of the tracks. It's $5 for the first upgrade, which means by default, whenever you take an action up here, you would move 1 space in any of these areas, be it testing, production, engineering, or sales, just 1 space. If you spend the $5, you can upgrade. So I could go from going 1 space on testing. If I upgrade it, now anytime I take that action, I could take 2 spaces, but it costs you $5 to do so. For the first upgrade, and it will cost you $7 for the second upgrade to bring you up to moving 3 spaces on any of those individual tracks. And that's all right here. You can ignore the order to die. The order to die, essentially, it gets rolled after the first round, and it's going to block an action, which means if the order to die was here, it was a 5, it means if you take a die from this column, you would get the bonus based on what you took, but you cannot take a placement action. What else is important here? Certificates, which, as you can see, there's 2 certificates on this track here, certificate at the top of this track, certificate here. They're kind of scattered. Okay, in terms of the certifications, there's 4 of them, and this one would enable you to move 3 spaces on any of the major tracks. So this one this one is similar to this one, where it allows you to move 3 spaces. You see the 3 dots. So even if you really are number 1 or 2 on any one of them, you could just move 3 spaces on one of them, and you would get a speedometer upgrade. This one here would enable you to get 5 victory points. Anything with a star is a victory point. This one would allow you to circle any production hub, even if you haven't gotten up to it. But you wouldn't get the bonus. It would give you credit as if you got up to it. You still have to get the requirements within it. You still have to fulfill what the requirements are in it. But this is worth 6 points. So if you were able to get the A tire, a TPS report, and at least 1 certificate, hey, if you meet those requirements, even if you haven't gotten all the way here, you're still able to get them. Get those 6 points without having to actually, work your way up to it. Still got to get those requirements. That's key. And at the end of the game, every 5 unspent dollars is a victory point. However, if you get this certificate here, that means every 2 unspent dollars with a victory point. That's pretty dope. So actually, first things first, we pick a track. So let's say I picked this track here and this testing track, this testing track. And this engineering track, let's say I picked this one. So in the game, die will be rolled by the first player and then whoever the active player is, and that's called the planning phase, where you roll the die and then place them onto your blueprint board here. Well, the communal blueprint board. These sheets everybody's going to have for themselves, but the blueprint board is the one that everybody's going to work off of. In a 2-player game, you're going to have 1 gray, 2 white, and 2 blue. So let's say I'm gonna roll these up. Let's see what we got here. So I'll sort of shift these up here so you can see the bonuses that are available for them. The game works across 3 different sequences: planning, industry, and then audit. Now, the audit will happen at the end of every round, except for the last round, because that's the last round. So we did the planning. The dice were rolled, and the planning is placing them where they belong on the blueprint board. Now we come to the industry part. So if I'm the first player, I will go. So I can choose. So let's say I really want money. So I'm going to choose this white 3. So I would take that, and I would immediately get the bonus. So the bonus is something that you're going to get. You're always going to get that bonus. So I would circle 3 on my sales track, because the money corresponds to the sales track. Even though this is in the sales column, I'm going to take I have the option of taking a sales action. The money bonus always is just you acquiring that along your sales track. Next, you have 3 options for your turn. You can take the blueprint action, which means I can move 1 space on sales. I took it from the sales column, which means I would circle an additional space here. That's one option. The other option is I could forego taking this action, the blueprint action, and if I had $5, which I don't, I could upgrade. Now, what you're able to upgrade is the same column that you took the die from. So because I took it from the sales column here, which is 3, I could upgrade sales. If I had 5, I would just circle. Let's say I did have $5, hypothetically. I would just fill in all 5, meaning they've been spent, and then I would upgrade my sales, which means now when I take sales actions, I can move 2 spaces instead of 1. but I don't have $5. You have to min max. What is worth it to me? Like, what can I unlock on this track that's gonna help me unlock a hub? And what die should I take to give me what I need to do this and that? And that's the crunchiness of it. You have a lot of options, but you have to realize you cannot do it all. And then the last thing is I could just do research. There have been times where I played where I got all the way around on a track and hadn't unlocked another track. So if I took something from column 2, which is the testing track, the blueprint action would mean nothing to me because I couldn't actually do it without having another testing track unlocked. Or if you got to the top of an engineering track and you're at the top and haven't unlocked another one, then you're kind of stuck. But you're not stuck. You'd have to take the research, which is beneficial because research allows you to take a free action, which can mean you could take an action elsewhere for every circle that you make it to. The squares just lead up to circles. Circles are really what you want to get. So for right now, I'm going to just take the money. So I took a sales action. I can only move 1 on sales. These are all already filled in. You start off with 1 for each of them. So I took 1 action there to just get a 4th buck. And then you have what's called a score sheet action. So a lot of action going on here. Your score sheet action is you placing this die on above any one of the tracks. So I could place it on sales again if I wanted to. I could place it in production, place it in engineering. It's all me. Open up this track. Let's say I placed it on engineering. That means is I could take engineering action. So I would move a space on engineering, and that space did have $1 on it. So I would circle that. Now, having made it up to a 5th space, well, 5 spaces on the sales track, I would unlock, you see the light bulb here, which means I would get to fill in a spot for research. And that would be my turn. And let's say the second player, they really wanted to move up on the speedometer, so they took that. So on their sheet, they would fill in the first space on the speedometer, and now it's back to me. Now I could go for more money. So what do I want to do here? I'm actually going to take the 2 gray. So the bonus I would get for that is $2. So I will just circle 2 more bucks. And now my options are I can upgrade testing to move up to 2 spaces. I can take a testing track action, which means I would just cross off this space here, or I could fill in a spot on the research track. I'm going to just start to move along the... Well, actually, you know what? Or I could upgrade. I think I'm just going to upgrade. So I'm going to spend $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to upgrade testing. So now instead of moving 1 space, I can move up to 2. And then for my score sheet action, I will place it above testing, and that would enable me to move 2 spaces on the testing track. So I will go 1, 2. Now this space here did have a engineering icon, which means I can unlock another engineering track. Now I have 2 engineering tracks going instead of just the 1, which is kind of nice. And let's say player 2 takes this blue 4, and they would get $2, and their choices would be to move along the production track, upgrade the production track if they have the money, take a research, what have you. Now, if you notice, this is going to happen at the end of every round. There's going to be a single die left, and what players are able to do is the bonus is not available. So with the single die, everybody is able to either take the blueprint action. So everybody could either move however many spaces they're allowed on the engineering track, take the blueprint action, or everybody could just do research. It's up to them. So basically, the last die, no bonus. Doesn't matter what the bonus is. Let me just cover it up, actually, because the last time. No bonus at all. Blueprint or research. Let's say I did the engineering track there. So there was a space there with the light bulb, which allows me to do research. So now, I did not move up anywhere on the speedometer for this round. Let's say somehow I worked it out and got up to 1 for the score for the first round. I would just write in a 1. or maybe the second player would, but just hypothetically, if I had done that, that's what I'll be able to do. And then this is where the auditor will come into play. So the auditor will be rolled. So a 3 was rolled. So now going into the subsequent round, the auditor is going to block the sales track. And what that means is if you take a die from here in the subsequent round, you would still get the bonus for it. You could still take the blueprint action for it. The one thing you could not do is, because once you see that it's a 3 and it's under sales, you would put your red, everybody would take one of these red blocks, these cubes, and they will place it above sales. What that means is on your score sheet action, after you've done your bonus and made a choice between blueprint, research, or an upgrade, you take your score sheet action when you place your die above one of the 4 major tracks and then take an additional action. Sales would be blocked. So you could not place the die there. You'd have the option of testing, production, or engineering. And that's what the auditor is going to do. So the auditor is going to move around every round and block different things. Now, if the auditor ends up in a 1 space, which is the speedometer column, there is no speedometer here. So it doesn't really do anything per se. Like, you can still take, if you unlock any action on the sheets, it doesn't matter if sales is, let's say I got up to here. Now this is an upgrade for sales. I can still take this action even if sales is here. It doesn't matter. It's just you can't take it blocks you from taking the score sheet action, the action where you place something here and then take an action in that track. But anything you unlock on the sheets themselves that correspond to something that has a red block, it doesn't matter. It's just the placement. And in terms of end game scoring, when you've unlocked different victory point stars all over the sheets, you would just write in the total number you score for each section and then add it up to how many you've accrued as far as the speedometer, and that'll be your total score. So as if you haven't heard me talk enough, I'm going to head back up top and I will say even more words. Fewer words, but more. Not more than, you get it. Just come on. And that was Motor City, a strategic engine building roll and write game. And boy, is it, as you clearly saw. If you're interested in Motor City, there should be a link in the description beneath this video where you can click on it and you can find out ways that you can support Motor City. Support it to the extent that maybe one will get shipped to your residence. Stranger things have happened. Anyway, Motor City, I dug it. It's fun, it's crunchy, it's all of those things all wrapped up in one. That's gonna do it for me. Thank you for watching. Take care, stay safe, and be blessed.